The Cincinnati Bengals are looking to be elite yet again. Coming off of back-to-back division titles, I believe that title may be in trouble this year. Yet, it's no secret that Cincinnati's offense and coaching staff help elevate this team to top-tier levels. I'm Chase Keller, and tune into this dive of the Cincinnati Bengals, why I believe they will finish 13-4, and how they came up in 4th in my 2023 NFL Power Rankings. The Bengals offense almost feels like it has been manipulated by the media. Over the last 2 seasons, they have failed to surpass 7th place in both points and yards forced, making it seem like this offense is barely in the top 10. When looking at this offensive roster, I do believe that it is in the top 3 across the league. The leader of this offense is the second best quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow is a smart and productive passer who has absolutely lived up to the hype as a prospect. His semi-high interception rate may be alarming to some, but when you watch the film, you will see a guy absolutely worthy of being the second best passer in the league. With that being said, what about Burrow's film pops out? Well, Burrow has some of the best poise across the league with his elite pocket presence and his ability to not be fazed by pressure. He also has the attributes of an elite quarterback with some great arm talent, mechanics, and processing. Of course, it's hard to top Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, but Burrow makes for a very nice second up. Now, an issue that many will point out is his interception rate being top 7 in interceptions in both of the last 2 seasons. But let's look deeper into turnover-worthy play percentage. There have been 35 quarterbacks in both 2021 and 2022 to record over 200 dropbacks. Out of those 35, Burrow finished 31st in 2021 and 33rd in 2022, going from highest to lowest percentage. Likewise, for big-time throw percentage, Burrow is at the top of the league, being 2nd in 2021 and 5th in 2022. So, for all these reasons, I believe that Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the NFL. Do you believe Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback? Comment down below. Moving on to the skill players, we have a big drop-off in talent with the running backs. With the quarterback rating only using QB1 and QB2, QB1 being 90% of it, the RBs suffer with a good RB1, but not great depth. Beginning with Joe Mixon, a guy who I believe is slightly overrated. I don't believe Mixon isn't good by any means though, as his 81 overall rating helps him fall under the good starter tier, barely missing the star tier. The reason I'm not a big fan of Mixon is because of his inability to find a high efficiency after the handoff. I'm aware that the team's run blocking is not so great, but Mixon is not great after contact either. 33 running backs had at least 150 carries in 2022. Out of those 33, Joe Mixon finished 30th in yards after contact per attempt. I can't lie though, Mixon is a reliable 3-down back who is also very good at holding on to the football, seeing 3 fumbles over the last 5 seasons. After Mixon, it will be a battle between Travion Williams and Chase Brown for the RB2. The departure of Samaje Perine isn't as impactful as it may seem, but both of those guys still fall on the line of the good backup tier. Williams is solid injury support with his 3-down potential, being able to both run and receive the football. Brown is another 3-down back, but he does have concerns with his blocking. With Brown being a rookie, he will quickly be ready to take that RB2 spot. Onto this elite wide receiver group, the second and final elite positional group on this roster. This group is debated as the best in the league, and while I do have to disagree, I still do believe it's up there and easily in the elite tier. Beginning with Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's swiftly surpassing other receivers, and while it may not be as fast as former LSU teammate Justin Jefferson, he's undoubtedly a superstar. Chase has been a guy with top-tier production, efficiency, and volume, a combination that isn't seen throughout the league. Chase's reliability started showing everywhere. His yards per catch went from 18 to 12, and with Burrow continuing to develop, Chase may see more volume at every level of the field. Speaking of volume, wide receiver 2 T. Higgins has received over 100 targets every season to start his career. In fact, in 2022, he received 104 targets, which is 7th out of all wide receiver 2s. Higgins hasn't gone over 1,100 yards yet, but he's going pretty well in yards per catch. Some great contested catch abilities along with capabilities of being a deep route runner makes him have 14.1 yards per catch, which is pretty impressive. After these guys, we have a solid slot receiver in Tyler Boyd. He's fallen in rating as of recently, but a fall in volume will help that. He's still an effective slot receiver with elite hands and short route ability. We need to keep an eye on Andre Iosivas, a guy who I believed was one of the biggest steals from the 2023 NFL Draft. Iosivas is a crisp route runner with a good knock for body control and catch radius. As an early 4th round talent, falling to the 6th was massive for Cincy. Another terrible tight end room for a top tier team just goes to show that a tight end isn't as important as shaped out to be. I mean, not only does this team not have a tight end 1 caliber player, the depth is also pretty lousy. And somehow, this room isn't close to being the worst tight end room in the league. Beginning with Irv Smith Jr., I genuinely love this guy as an NFL prospect. Sure, injuries may have held back his upside, but he hasn't shown what I hoped he would. I scouted him as strictly a receiving tight end, which is something I liked in Kincaid, and I actually think Irv Smith and Kincaid kind of match together as how much I like them as prospects. He hasn't been that effective blocker just like I expected, but he also hasn't been too effective of a receiver either. Given what happened with Hayden Hurst last season, I'm not expecting a big breakout year from Irv Smith despite being tight end 1. Drew Sample is another guy I liked as a prospect in the same draft as Irv Smith, and clearly the Bengals did too. Coming in the same draft, Sample has taken a much more significant fall, losing volume and value everywhere on the field. And Tanner Hudson showed promise as a tight end 3 caliber in 2022 with New York, but as of now, he's a back of roster player with mediocre ability all around. If he takes the tight end 2 spot in 2023, he should become more of a tight end 2 caliber player. Let's move into the offensive line here. So far this preseason, this line has not looked great. I totally understand these may be the backup linemen, but that's actually a bad sign given that the starting line could also use some hefty work. The pickup of Orlando Brown Jr. is significant, but not as much as the media is replicating. I don't see Brown as more than a good starter, and it may be controversial, but let me explain. Brown gives up too many significant pressures in the pass, losing track of his technique and honestly, losing track of himself. He allowed 47 pressures in 2022, which was 7th across the league and 2nd among all left tackles, only trailing rookie Charles Cross. That's pretty concerning if you ask me, but he's still a good starter with consistent run blocking and overall viable reliability. The concerns start with left guard Max Sharping. The projection here is Cordell Volson, but he sits 2 overall points behind Sharping. I'm not going to sit here and act like either is a good option, but for Sharping, he's a solid run blocker but a horrid pass blocker. For this reason, Sharping lands in the manageable backup tier. In the middle, Teddy Karras is a good pass blocking center, but he's another guy who isn't starting caliber. I honestly have a Illini bias too, and with him coming from Illinois, it's not shown here. We still do need to credit his pass blocking anyways. In 2022, he allowed 20 pressures, which was the most of his career so far. I'm gonna skip Alex Kappa and discuss La'el Collins. This spot is likely Jonah Williams, and Bengals fans haven't experienced the best of Collins, but I still like him here over Williams. Collins does have some pretty good combo blocking, and before 2022, he was actually one of the best right tackles in the NFL. Williams has not shown anything special since being drafted, or at least he hasn't shown as much special traits that La'el Collins has since then. Discussing the offensive coaching, I do believe that Zach Taylor is a great head coach. Some may disagree, but I do believe he's going to be in Cincy for years to come. 2022 was a fantastic year for Taylor's McVay-esque scheme, becoming more deceptive and exemplary. He's turned into more of a CEO coach, which I love more than a normal analyst may, but him running this offense with Brian Callahan has been fun to watch. At least in 2022, the offensive mistakes were helped out by the defense, but good performances against great defenses got me enough. To summarize, the Bengals offense is one that I really love. If the offensive coaching can match with the roster, this offense will be reaching new heights in 2023. Here's what somewhat holds this team back. A very much new look Cincinnati defense ranks 21st in the NFL with no positional group higher than above average, and 3 of 5 groups below average. It's not like this defense is a massive hit to the rating, but it's enough to lower them down to number 4 in my power rankings. So, let's discuss this defensive roster, beginning with one of the above average groups in the edge core. I'm surprised this group isn't higher given the great depth here, but I think a second star edge would help out a lot. To me, that's what Myles Murphy will become, and I'll discuss that in one moment. Beginning with Trey Hendrickson, an edge rusher that is just short of superstardom. Hendrickson's first 2 seasons in Cincy proved that he can play at an absolute elite level, especially in the pass rush. With Cincinnati, Hendrickson has put together 1 pressure every 6.1 snaps, which is pretty impressive. His run defense isn't great, but with his elite pass rush ability, he will be fine. Sam Hubbard lines up alongside Hendrickson. Hubbard is actually the opposite of Hendrickson, being that he's a good run defender and a mediocre pass rusher. As an overall player, he sits as a manageable starter. Hubbard needs to watch his back though. I already have Myles Murphy at an overall advantage, and as a prospect, he's a versatile defender who showcased that along a dominant Clemson defensive line. Murphy has the frame and the consistency to start at edge rusher as a rookie. He's more effective in the run, but as a pass rusher, he's still pretty damn good. So, Sam Hubbard needs to be ready. The interior defensive line is also above average, making this defensive line pretty damn lethal. As for Bengals fans, this is about the last bit of positivity you're going to get on this defense until we discuss the defensive coaching. Beginning with one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL with DJ Reader. Reader is dominant in both the pass and the run, but most recently, he's put together 48 pressures and 576 pass rush snaps, which is 1 pressure every 12 snaps. Reader is so strong with great technique, being a boulder on the inside. It's very hard to stop Reader, making sense why he has a superstar rating. After Reader, BJ Hill is a manageable starter to help Reader excel. Hill is another consistent defender, but he's nothing great, or I should say, he doesn't come close to Reader's superstardom. The depth here is not great. Josh Tupou is a solid rotational run defender with solid play strength. And Jay Tufele is a guy I really enjoyed as a college prospect, but he definitely has not impressed to start his career. Here's where the decline starts. The linebacker group sits below average with their lack of great starting options and okay depth. The starters both deserve a starting position nonetheless. Jermaine Pratt kicks off this group as the first of 2 manageable starters. Pratt really struggled to start his career, but 2022 was a big step in the right direction. Pratt was an elite coverage linebacker last season, allowing 0 touchdowns on 339 coverage snaps. He also did this while allowing less than 70% of his targets to be caught, which is an impressive number for a linebacker. I believe this momentum will continue, and Pratt does receive the sole breakout grade on this roster. Beside Pratt, the newly extended Logan Wilson also checks in as a manageable starter. Wilson had a similar start to Pratt, but he had his breakout season earlier, deserving his extension. Wilson is a very stout run defender with great tackling technique and play strength. Elevating into coverage is a little bit of a problem, but he should be okay. After that, Akeem Davis-Gaither was a decent pickup for run defense, but he's nothing more than a good backup. Then for the cornerback room, which is the best part of the secondary, we have another under-average positional group. This is about the same as the linebacker group except deeper, as the starters here aren't good options. Chidobe Awuzie leads this group as an extremely athletic man corner with solid instincts. He's seen some injuries lately, specifically in 2022 and 2020, but I do believe that he's got his athletic potential to work as a cornerback 1. I want to discuss more about Mike Hilton. Hilton has to be one of my favorite nickel corners with his ability to make a flashy play or a stretch of flashy plays at any given time. Hilton is phenomenal in run support. He actually may be one of, if not the best run defending cornerback in the NFL. The problem is he's not too effective in coverage and he's not too efficient outside of the box or the slot. Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner are a combination of young athletic defensive backs with upside. At the moment, I don't believe either of them are great in coverage, but their athleticism should display enough promise. A note for DJ Turner, he does have good deep speed for coverage, but he does struggle with play strength, and he's not great at holding up in the red zone. This is why I wasn't a big fan of the draft selection, as they do need a physical corner. Finally, we have a terrible safety core here. This room has no starting caliber players along with some mediocre depth. In this room, I am going to go bunch by bunch with no camera cuts because everyone has the same overall when it comes to their first string, second string, etc. So stick in here with me. The first string safeties are Dax Hill and Jordan Battle. two young and inexperienced safeties who can break out for 2023. Hill only played 130 snaps throughout his rookie year, but he showed dominance in the box with fantastic run support. As a coverage safety, he could definitely use improvement, given that he allowed 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. Battle was a great draft selection, and he's an opposite to Hill. Battle's run defense is very lackluster, but I do like the upside there with his play strength. He shines as a box coverage guy, but he's versatile enough to play deep as well. The second string safeties are Nick Scott and Michael Thomas. Scott played his first full-time starter year in 2022 and was not great, heavily struggling in coverage by allowing 30 on 38 targets and 3 touchdowns. Run defense was very solid though, and honestly, I'm excited to see what this defense can do in the run. Thomas has shown promise this offseason, but he hasn't played more than 100 snaps since 2019. Moving on to the defensive coaching, I'm sure that this defense will finish better than 21st. Allow me to bring in A-grade defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Anarumo is a combination defensive coordinator who will run 3-4, 4-3, and 4-2-5 this season. He has the personnel to do so, as while this defense ranks 21st, each positional group is consistent. He is a big fan of finding ways to generate pressures, as especially with a great defensive line, he will need to find ways to help out this not-so-great secondary. Overall, Anarumo is a fun defensive coordinator to watch, and he may be a head coach by next season. To summarize, the Bengals' defensive roster is a little under average, but hold that thought. This defensive coaching and creative alignment switches will help this defense not be 21st in 2023. Before I end every video, I go over the rating splits for offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and team. If you are interested in how all of these ratings work, it is in the description below. Starting with offense, they receive a 79.37, which is 3rd in the NFL, 2nd in the AFC, and 1st in the AFC North. The defense receives a 73.64, which is 21st in the NFL, 12th in the AFC, and last in the AFC North. The special teams came out at a 70.75, which is 23rd in the NFL, 10th in the AFC, and 2nd in the AFC North. And coaching comes out at an 80 out of 80, or I should say a 10 out of 10, which is tied for first everywhere in both league, conference, and division. Finally, the overall team receives a 77.36, which, bold take, is not the best in their division, which is 3rd in the AFC and 4th in the NFL. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I have 3 teams remaining, including one of the Bengals division rivals, so keep an eye out for that. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.